Hey everyone, Eric with Rocket H, and tonight it is an open Q&A on how I do my model building summit. So while we're in the pre-show, waiting for everyone to get on board, we're gonna just chit chat and let everyone get settled in so we can have a little open Q&A. There's been a number of people that have expressed interest, or at least I've seen a few people say, well, you know, we ought to do one of these, etc., etc. And obviously, man, learn from my mistakes, learn what I'm doing well so you can do it even better and have your own thing wherever you live. So I'm excited for this show. Should be a good one, and look forward to having you. So, hey, there's Matt. Hello, Matt, and Dustin, you're on board. Welcome, Dustin. Both of those guys are busy building stuff. Lee's on. Welcome, welcome, Lee. Looks like people are joining in, so it's good to see you. Hi, Dylan. How are you? Good to see you, and I don't know that I've seen you in here before. So welcome, and gosh, everyone else, it's good to see you. We need to know if Matt has finished his K100 yet. Hopefully he has done that. There's Jacob. He has actually attended the Model Building Summit this year, so hopefully he'll have something to add to the conversation. And Scott, welcome Scott, good to see you. I've got my laptop up here this morning, or this evening. There's Kent, welcome Kent. There's a guy up there, Kent, you've got the place, and there's a lot of Canadians I'm sure would love to do something like this up in your neck of the wood. Thanks, Dylan. Glad you're watching. Thanks for being here. I'm sorry I got distracted by Matt. Yeah, it's done. I posted it. You did? Huh, I guess I missed that. Huh. All right. Well, I'll catch that. Clint, welcome. Hello. Hi, Clint, and Jacob again. Garrett, there's Garrett before he has to go read his daughter a storybook. So he's here for a little bit on Mountain Time. There we go. Now I can see everybody. All right, here we are. Okay. All right. Hi, Clint. How are you? Good to see you there. We got about 6 minutes here before we get going, so could have had one this week while everyone was stormed in. Yeah, that'd be about your only trouble is getting those in between. I gotta focus here. I'm totally getting distracted by comments. So Matt says he posted comments of his build from our previous build along. In the comments, and I've got to go find that now so I can see it. And Dustin, who's also on the show tonight, he posted a video in the No Secrets Lab. If you haven't joined there, just ask, I'll let you in. So he put that in there. Soldering a double combine trailer and a single combine trailer. There's Kent getting a shout out for his floats. Tell you, if you need floats, go to Canada Dakota, go to their website and buy floats. They are cool. They are pretty much awesome, and there's 2 videos I've shot that show you how to mount those on a truck and then also get the tire on the rim, which is can be a slight difficulty if you're, well, shoot, now I can't find what I'm looking for. But that's okay. That is okay. I'm curious, we had a couple of guys do the K100 build along. For those of you that have been paying attention, those of you that have joined or seen me post about the Johnson Harvesting build along, is there any interest in that? Is there anybody watching that might build along on that one? Hi Tim, how are you? Good to see you, Tim. Tim has AccuScale Farm Toys and does a marvelous job making Gleaner 3D printed combine kits. Make sure you buy one. They look, I haven't bought one myself, but I'm kind of distracted with about 1,400 other things. Scott says, yes, if he wasn't busy. Hi, Josh. And right now I'm looking for Okay, Nathan says he's in on the Johnson Harvest build along. I think I'm going to end up ordering a sheet of decals for that build along tonight too. Oh, sweet. Well done. All right. So, and then I also posted out there on the Johnson Harvesting Facebook page about the build along too, because I know I get a lot of requests for Johnson Harvesting trucks, and you know, if you're making it yourself, that's about the best way to do it. That I mean, how can you fail? I mean, this is it's not simple, but on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd give this one maybe a 6. I mean, really, all it is just taking it apart, stripping the paint off, repainting it, and applying decals, clear coat, reassembly. I know, it's oversimplified indeed. But, I mean, if you ever wanted to learn how to paint, and this particular paint goes on so beautifully, and right now I've got a quote, I'm waiting on a quote from R&E Paint in Arkansas to see what the cost it's going to be. Normally they charge me $30 to ship it from there to here, and you get a nice can of it. But I bought some out of North Dakota from the company that actually mixes Johnson Harvesting paint. I'm not going to do that again if R&E can do it. And I have the paint codes too, so you could even just get the paint codes and go do it yourself if you wanted. So, all right. Let me see. I'm still looking. Aha, here we go. I am looking for Matt's. Matt, I may have to have you repost that. Your K100. And then we'll have to see if anyone else has done one, because that'll be cool. Okay, 2 minutes out, guys. So, hey, before we get started, I'm just going to let you know, get them fingers warmed up and any questions you might have. I'm not going to hold anything back. I'll just give it to you straight up how I did it and what I've learned and basically the format I've taken. I'll kind of give you just a short history of how it started and then kind of lead you up to where it is today. And I'll tell you what works for me and what doesn't. So, and then there's a couple of guys that have been in on the summit so far. I mean, maybe they'll have some comments too, what they liked, what they didn't like. You know, we'll just go from there and keep it kind of loose. So we are about a minute out here, and I even typed up some notes here so I wouldn't miss anything. Hey Jason, how are you? Nice to see you. There's another guy. Jason, you need to host one of these in your neck of the woods too. You'd be great at it. You've got room and everything. It'd be perfect. Okay, got my carbonated water over here because I love it. All right. So I think we're close enough, guys. We'll just get going. So we'll, let me see. Oh, Matt's wife must be exercising. That's cool. All right. Hi, Nathan. How are you? Good to see you. Welcome, welcome. Okay, guys, we'll get started. Hello, everyone. I'm Eric with Rockin' H, and tonight we are going to go through how to host a model building summit. This is something that I've started 4 years ago now, and I started it originally basically because in my imagination I was kind of hoping this would be a full-time business gig for me, and a lot of the guys that were starting online businesses and doing things were having summits where you would go to a location, you'd pay a big fee, and then you'd sit there and brainstorm about business and all this and that. And I thought, well, hell, if it works for them, let's do it for models. That'd be kind of fun. And that's where the idea was born. So 4 years ago, started out, and I call it a model building summit, mostly after another, an online course. Well, it was a small business summit out in Colorado. A guy in a group I belonged to of entrepreneurs, and so I just stole his name and rebranded it for my purpose. So that's how we came up with the name. And I think I called it maybe a model building weekend or something, but for some reason I changed it to the summit just because I like the way it sounds. Anyways, whatever you end up calling it, do not get hung up on the name. It's more important that you do it than what you call it. We'll leave it at that. Okay, so when I started the Model Building Summit 4 years ago, it was over in my buddy's shop, a couple miles just over here, and it worked out really well. He had a nice big area we could play in, and he's overhauling, well, he's rebuilding a 79 Mach 1. And so we had a conversation piece in there as he was working on it and playing with it, because everything was done top shelf. It was kind of fun. Hi, Joseph Van Ward, welcome. And then, so yeah, and I had originally thought it was just going to be a classroom type situation where I would just be teaching and teaching and teaching the whole time. And that kind of worked for the first year, or it seemed like it worked for the first year. Then year 2, I had a couple guys return, and I wasn't teaching them anything, really. I mean, they got together, and I just said, okay, guys, let's go. And we just started it off, and they didn't need me at all, really. I had a couple guys, another guy on there needed a little help with a Twisted H Customs. He wanted 2 cattle pots like Twisted H Customs does. He wanted a pot like that, a couple of pots, California style cattle haulers. And so I helped him quite a bit because neither one of us knew what we were doing. And so we just started cutting stuff up until it looked like what he wanted, and that wins. But after we were done with that project, he was on his own just building the hell out of stuff. It was insane, crazy. And then, so I did it for 2 years in my buddy's shop, and then I moved it to a hotel room, and part of that was, and I also moved the date. Year 2, I moved the date to August, because one of the guys here, Garrett, who comes to the event annually, asked, hey, he's getting water in March, so I said, well, it's my weekend, I'll move it where I want, and the last weekend of February works for him, and it seems like it works for everybody else too, so that's just last weekend of February. And then last year I moved it to a hotel room, and that again too, so, some guys like to have a couple cold beers in the evening, so they don't have to drive anywhere. Just walk over to your room. And what was also nice about that too, and this happened this year, having it at the hotel, February, not August. Did I say August? It was March. Anyway, what was also nice about that too is if a guy gets tired, or this year we built to like 12:30 at night or in the morning, and one guy says, I'm done, I'm tired. He went to bed at 11 or something. Another guy took off, and so it gives you that flexibility. You can just walk up to your room, and that made it really nice. And here in Dodge City, the hotel that we're using is hungry, and they're very accommodating, just does a great job. So that is kind of the brief history of how it evolved. And I have to tell you guys, what it is now I like better than what it was when I started. Because what I started out with, what I thought would be a classroom situation where I just teach, and do this and that. What it is now, it's the guys just come together, they want to build, they need a space away from family, away from distractions. All the tools are right there, the paint's there, everything's right there. So you really don't have to, you can flat crank out models. That's really all there is to it. You've got a solid block of time where you can just do stuff, and that's really cool. So I actually like what this is much better. And it's more social too. If you've ever been on a guided fishing trip or a guided hunt or something like that, the idea is to get together with your buddies and you go hunting. And this is, you get together with some friends and you build a whole lot of models. And that's what it is. And I really like that atmosphere a lot better. Okay, so for the first 3 years, I offered it all inclusive. So you paid one fee, and I supplied all the meals, all the hotel rooms all the nights in the hotel were it was just one fee. It was all paid for. And then if you had any incidentals that you buy from me, you settled up with me at the end of the weekend, but once you arrive, you really don't lift a finger to some extent. What I found was, and this may be the situation in your neck of the woods, that makes it a pretty big price. Okay, so you're talking, $65 a night for the hotel, and then I figured $15 a meal, because I was paying other guys to do it, So 15 times however many meals. And then I charged $150 for my time for the whole weekend. And with that, there was some incidentals, plastic, brass, paint, primer, that kind of thing, that I include in the weekend. Yeah, it was $450, $350, depending on how I was marketing it at the time. And I know that price scared people off, whereas now you're essentially spending the same money, more or less. But now you have the latitude to get a roommate and cut your hotel fee in half, okay? Or we would eat. We ate at a local sports bar one night, and you're going to spend 15, $20 there. Or you could just drive down the street and go to McDonald's. If you don't want to, or like one of the guys here this weekend, on the weekend this year, he's like, guys, I have a friend here in Dodge. I'm going to go visit with him. I'll see you later. Okay. So he went and did his own thing, and it was great. It gives him that flexibility. And I really like that, to where you have the choice to do whatever the hell you want to do. And I like that so much better. And honestly, guys, it creates a lot less work for me when I don't have to plan and organize all the meals and then make sure all your hotels are accounted for and all that other stuff. It's just pay the fee, we're done. That's it. And I really, really like that much better. A lot less work for me. And then everyone has flexibility to do what they want. Okay, kind of looking through my notes here. Talked about my buddy's shop. Okay, this is something I never had a problem with until this year. We had 7 guys, 7 total guys, including me, were in the room. And we were painting the heck out of stuff. Friday night, paint was flying. Oh my gosh. And into Saturday morning and Saturday afternoon. I mean, before I had 7 guys, my little box, my little paint booth kept up, everything was fine. But the fumes, I'd never had a trouble with the amount of fumes that I had this year. Even with windows open, it was wicked. I mean, we were floating in there. I'm not sure how we got any. Board says it was loopy. Yeah, I know. So next year, I got to come up with a good way to ventilate the fumes out a window. And definitely got to make that a mandatory thing. So it's something you want to keep in mind depending on where you have your event. Got to keep that in mind. Got to have good ventilation. This year was a first for what we had. It was crazy. Okay, couple questions here. Eric says, how many hours did each of your summit last per day for building? Okay, Eric, honestly, I'm not a big rule keeper, and I probably give way more time than I really should. I mean, in the scope of things. But Friday night is free, so I come up on Friday afternoon, I set up, and then I had everything set about 5 o'clock, and I think Jacob was there at 4 because he just arrived in town early. And he started building fairly soon after I got everything set up at 4, but everything was pretty much ready at 5. And we worked until about 12:30 on Friday night. I was back down in the room at 8 a.m. And I think, was Garrett in there already? But yeah, I was back at the hotel at 8, and then we worked again until about midnight, 12:30 again. And then on Sunday, again at 8, and then worked until 4 o'clock. And I think next year I'm going to shut it off at 3. Just say 3 o'clock's it on Sunday so I can get my stuff home and unload it and unwind from the weekend. So that's how I played it. You're going to have to figure out what's good for your situation. I don't know if I'm a martyr or crazy, or I'm still young enough I can keep up and do all this. But you'll have to figure out what you want to do. But these guys pay good money to be here. I give them all the value I can handle. There you go. Okay, so we talked about ventilation. Let's talk about marketing quick. Okay. I offer early bird pricing, and the reason for that is to create scarcity. That's it. And the reason for that is, okay, so now you're going to have early bird pricing for this window of time, and I would suggest you do it incrementally. So let's say you start doing it in, oh yeah, thanks Ward for that. I'm going to backtrack just quickly on the, Ward made a good thing. Make sure you got good lighting. The room we're using does not have great lighting. It kind of stinks, and Ward's eyes are, he needs more light. So you want to make sure that if you don't have good light in your room, that you provide good light in your room, and that's something I got to do next year as well. Okay, so back on pricing. Whatever you end up doing, remember, you can't give your time away, guys. I know you want to do this, and you know, you cannot give your time away. Don't give your time away. It's foolish if you do, and I don't encourage you to do it, okay? You have time organizing, gathering stuff, and then being on the weekend itself, you should be paid for that just for hosting the event, okay? You should be paid for that. Quick example, I'm taking my dad on a guided fishing hunt in Oklahoma this summer. I'm paying $125 for 6 hours of fishing, and that's just 6 hours, which is crazy. 125 is a bargain for 6 hours of fishing. And I'm using the guy's equipment. He's taking me out on his boat, and I'm still paying him 125. Okay, you should be paid, and I'm getting paid 150 for the whole freaking weekend. Okay, so whatever you choose to do, make sure you get paid something for your time. Okay, you have to do that, guys. If you don't, you're going to get burned out and mad and angry and feel like you're being taken advantage of, and you don't need that. This should be fun for everybody, okay? So make sure you cover that base. Marketing, false scarcity. So let's start in October, and if you've got a website or a PayPal account, you can create little buttons and this and that. You could do an October thing. Let's say your event's in February like mine. In October, you can say for the month of October, the rate's $125. And then in November, it's going to go to $150. And then in December, it's $175. And in January and February, it's $200. You can do all that, and the reason to do that is so people say yes and get off their duff. You're just kind of moving people to action with scarcity, and you're doing it with the price. Okay? That's why I do it, because I want people to sign up and say, I'm in. And then that helps me plan far enough in advance that you have everything on hand, all the room is booked, you kind of have your budget, you know what you can buy, and you can start doing all those preliminary things so everything's ready for when the time comes, okay? And that's why I do that, plain and simple. And I'll do it again this year. And matter of fact, I'll go back to the guys that went on this year and say, you want to book now? And you can get the discounted rate. And if not, you can play the odds and go forward, in the fall or whenever. So you can do that however you wish. But that's what I do and why I do it. With my website, I can create those buttons, and I can actually turn my shopping cart on and off. So this start date here with one price will go, and then it'll turn off at this date, and a new one will kick on and finish. So everything's on autopilot until I'm done marketing. Okay, and I'm using WooCommerce on a WordPress website, and the plugin is free, by the way. Okay. I'm going to start taking questions here in the next 5 minutes, so here we go. I let all the guys pick out of my Shapeways store, and anything I have for sale is just a fraction over cost. So if something costs $5, you can buy it for $5 and a nickel or whatever it is, just to cover my expenses, like taxes and stuff on my income and everything. And then you can buy as much of that. If you want to buy 100 of them and resell them, I don't care. That's up to you. You can buy 100 of them, finish them off and resell them. I don't care. That's up to you. But on that weekend, anything that I have, and leading up to that weekend, anything I have is at cost. It's just one of the ways I add value that doesn't cost me anything, and it adds more value to the weekend. That's it. That's why I do it. Some of you don't have that capability, and that's fine. Okay. And then I'll usually, this year I bought about $250 worth of plastic, glue, Instaset, syringes for applying Instaset. I had to buy a couple of parts for my Dremel and some different things. About $250 worth of stuff. And then in that $250, I usually buy extra side cutters or X-Acto knife, or this year I gave them screwdrivers and a flathead, a small flathead and a Phillips screwdriver. I like to provide something they can take home. So last year was glue and a syringe and, I don't know, forget something else. And then this year was screwdrivers and a syringe of Instaset and something else. So just something I like to do. Again, doesn't really cost much and adds value. Okay, I supply drinks, in the evening. Some guys like to have beer, so I have that around. I have soda pop. I usually ask all the guys, what do you like to drink? Some of the guys said, Dr. Pepper, Pepsi, water. So I have all that stuff on hand in a cooler, and that's just there. I used to provide snacks, but it seems like they weren't real popular, so I quit doing that, like peanuts or something. Quit doing that. All the glue and brass and stuff like that, solder, that's just free. The styrene doesn't cost anything. I mean, $2 for a 5x10 sheet of styrene. Who cares? So I provide all that free. So if you're using styrene and scraps and whatever, just it's there. Use it and go do something cool. Brass, again, for stretching trucks and this and that. That doesn't cost anything. Just use it. If I have to buy specific things like DCP wheels or DCP grills, it's stuff I have to go out to Fleener on eBay and buy. All right, guys, it's just cost, so buy up what you want there. So those kind of parts I have to charge for because I got to resupply those. And yeah, I could pay for that out of the fee for the weekend, but man, you're going to lose money in a hurry if you do that very often. Let me see. My hotel ballroom cost me $200, which I think is a freaking bargain. So I use it and I try to put that back as cleanly as I can. So I've got table covering over all the tables with tools and power tools on them. I open up the windows and everything, but I put everything back the way I found it, so they let me come back next year. That's, I don't want them to run me off because it is a great place. I do get a discount for the guys' rooms. So if you call up the hotel and you say, I want the Summit discount or the Eric discount or whatever they had to say this year, they get it for a little discounted rate. For marketing, I told you a bit about price, but I'm kind of jumping back into the marketing piece. The single best thing I did this year was that Facebook Live video I did right here, just explaining the weekend, and most of the guys signed up right there. And I had 2 guys come in December, registered then, and then one paid that weekend. But that was the single best thing I did. And then if you post lots of pictures, if you're going to do this, just be clear on what is there and what you can do, what you're going to provide, and just do one of these Facebook Live videos saying, here's the deal, guys. It's this money, this weekend. Here's what I'm going to provide, and that worked for me. Last year I spent $50 on a Facebook ad. I think part of the problem with that is this idea is still really darn new, so a lot of guys don't understand what the hell you're trying to accomplish here. So as you guys start doing this and people start catching on that we're doing a model building weekend or something like that, where you're just getting together, going to build a lot of models and all this and that, people will begin to understand what the concept is, so it'll be easier for you and for me to market this down the road. Okay, so it's just, this idea is just so new some people really, their imaginations can't figure it out yet. And that's okay. It's just going to take a little time, but we'll get there. Okay. Ward says option of 1 or 2 day. Yeah, I did actually have provided that 1 or 2 day, but everyone signed up for the full weekend, and that worked. Garrett, age limit. Yeah, this year we had a really young guy who needed a tremendous amount of help, and I would definitely consider an age limit on that. Use your judgment on how you want to do that. I did have 2 guys that are 13. Both of them, you know, mom and dad were in and out of the room periodically. But these 2 really didn't need anything. They were go-getters. They just needed a little guidance here and there, which is exactly what some of the adults, Eric, how do you do this one thing? And once you kind of get them started, that's it. You're done. But I don't think you could do that with everybody. And we had an instance where a guy that's too young really needed to have a parent with him, or not at all. So, but just something to consider, okay, as you kind of assemble your weekend. And yeah, there you go. Okay. One thing I have kind of discovered, I think after this year, I believe 8, maybe 10 guys is about all I can handle well. And the limiting factor is just the amount of paint we're using. Just creates a tremendous amount of fumes. I was really surprised this year. It's just something you got to think ahead. I'm telling you, if you've got 7 guys that are doing scratch building and shooting primer, paint, and clear on very many models, like Garrett had several 3D models and he was shooting colors. You know, and some 3D products take multiple coats. I mean, you might shoot 3 coats of paint within a couple of hours, and that produces a crazy amount of fumes. Excuse me. That's just something I didn't anticipate happening, and it happened, so now I know to prepare for it next year. Definitely gotta come up with a better solution for fumes. So make sure if you do this, and especially if you do it in an enclosed place like a hotel room, ballroom or something, you definitely got to have a plan to handle paint fumes. So very big caution on that. So yeah, that's my story, guys. That's how the whole thing works. Time for questions here. We're running up to 8:54. It's a good time to stop and let you take a few minutes to ask me what you want to know about this weekend. Again, I think it's, if you're trying to build a brand, or you just want to get a group of guys together to do this, I think it's well worth your time. I do provide all the power tools. I got a bandsaw, sander, 2 Dremels. I had a bucket full of lacquer thinner for stripping, wire wheel on my drill press. All my paint was in the room. I mean, all my leftovers and everything else were there. So, yeah. So all of that stuff was just right there for you to use if you needed it. And I know not all of you have those kind of tools, but would go out of my way to see if you can borrow some for a weekend. And surely you can. And if you just make it more of a cow-cat type of thing where, you know, Bob brings a drill press and Jerry brings a sander, and everyone has their own Dremel or whatever it happens to be, you can make a go of it that way too. But man, having them tools all in one spot where you can just buzz out projects, whoo, yeah, buddy, that's what makes the magic happen on these weekends. That's why you get so much done. I mean, everything's just there. It's really good. All right, questions, guys. What do you want to know about this weekend? You've seen Ward and Garrett talking about it a little bit. Carson was there. A couple other guys were there. What do you want to know? Is there something I've missed, or a practice that maybe I left out? That would be good to know. Let me see. We're going to go out and refresh my screen. Here we go. We'll go see some comments. Henry Ford would have been proud of our assembly line. Yeah, I tell you. It's just remarkable how much a guy can get done when you've got a focused period. Well, and for crying out loud, we work for what, 8 to 8. There's 12 to midnight, and I suppose towards the closer to midnight there wasn't as much work getting done as there was BSing, standing around talking about models. But still, we work 14 hours. You can flat crank stuff out. So if you kind of go into your weekend with that mindset, you'll be shocked what you can get done. And that's what really makes it kind of cool. One thing I would recommend, though, is if you got a layout for photos after the fact, just something little. Maybe make it on that weekend as part of a demonstration or something. Having a layout for photos is a good idea. That, again, doesn't cost very much, adds value, and everyone has photos from that weekend that rock. I mean, unlike setting them on a table like I did this year. That's kind of lame. Yeah, don't do that. All right. Well, I must have done a good job because you don't have very many questions. So, what more can I say except for number one, thanks to the guys that came this weekend. Jacob came all the way from Canada. That was pretty awesome. And we had Garrett from Colorado, a couple from Kansas, and some from Nebraska. So it was really cool. And some of you guys over east of the Mississippi, you have it made because you have so many more people closer together. I mean, out here, we have a lot of geography and not so many people. So they really have to drive a ways to get here. So, yeah, you guys to the east should be able to pull this off very well. And I really hope you do, and I will support you any way I can for those of you that choose it. Jason says, it would be kind of cool to have different segments, maybe an hour or so on photography of models. Yeah, again, those are the types of things you just say, oh, hey guys, we're just going to do a 30-minute demonstration on X. It doesn't really take anyone away from their work. It adds value to the weekend, and it's just more value. I mean, it's more value. Yeah, if you could do a 3D printing demo, certainly. Jason says, do a 3D printing demo. Absolutely. All those things, again, they don't cost very much, they add value, and they make the whole weekend worth the experience. So it's just good stuff to do. Okay. Oh, that's right. Garrett wanted to know how to apply water slide decals on Sunday morning, so I had a model that needed decals, and I said, come over here, we'll just do a quickie demonstration, and then you can apply one, and it worked out great. So yeah, I think that's it. Okay guys, 8:59. Thank you to the guys that came. Thank all of you for watching, for being a part of this. And again, I can't iterate again, if you need anything answered about how to do this in your neck of the woods, I will share everything I know, because I want you to do this. I would love to see more people doing these types of weekends, because we'll all get better at it, and it'll just be more fun. So I'm kind of reading some comments here. Demonstration on how to lose headlights. Yeah. Yep, that's a pain. All right, guys. Well, like, comment, and share this video with your friends. Come back to it if you need some help on how to create a weekend like this. And thanks so much for watching, and we will catch you next time. Next week, I don't know what the show's going to be, but very soon we're going to do a build-along with Johnson Harvesting. So be prepared for another build-along, and it will be a fantastic beginner series, especially if you've never repainted a DCP truck. So T800, we're going to put a heavy-duty bumper on it, trick it out, do some decals, and special paint. So be looking for that series coming up here this spring. And yeah, so there you go. We'll catch you later, fellas. Good night.